Welcome to Lesson 9.4, Functions and Rules. Today we're going to talk about how to write functions and how to evaluate functions. Alright, so if you take a look at the first function, if we look at figure 1, we know that we start with 1, 2, 3 line segments. So to help us figure out what the function is, we're going to make a table. And in the table, we look at figure 1, and it has 3 line segments. So our input and our output. Figure 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Figure 3 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we look at this, right now we know we're following a pattern of adding 2 line segments to each figure. Now, that only tells us the pattern of the adding of the line segments. That does not tell us the relationship between x, our input, and y, but it can help us figure it out as we need more than 1 or 2 examples to make sure that we have the correct function. So right now, yes, we have a pattern of add 2. And we know that our next figure should have, if the last one had 7, the next one should have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so the fourth figure does have 9 line segments. And then the next figure following the pattern should have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now that we've found the first 5 figures, we need to figure out how we go from our input to our output. Because we go from a smaller number to a larger number, we are going to look at using multiplication or addition. Now, we could use one or the other, or we could also end up using both. So never think that just because you can't go from one to the other with just addition or just multiplication that it doesn't work or there isn't a function. Okay, in this case, we go from 1 to 3 by adding 2. However, we cannot go from 2 to 5 by adding 2. So plus 2 as an option is out. However, we can try times 3. 1 times 3 does give us 3, but 2 times 3 does not give us 3, or does not give us 5. So times 3 as an option is out. So the next thing you want to look at is using multiplication and addition together. So I would start by saying, okay, how do I go from 1 to 3? I can multiply by 1 and then add 2. However, multiplying by 1 is the same thing, and then adding 2 is the same thing as just plus 2, because anything times 1 is going to be itself. So you're still going to get 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 2 is not 5. Okay, so we try the next one. Times 2. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 will get me to 3. So we're going to try the function times 2 plus 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 4 times 2 is 9, is 8, plus 1 is 9. And 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 gives us 11. So right now we know that the function rule would be y, our output, is equal to 2 times our input plus 1. Now we can use this to find our 10th term. So we put in y equals 2 times, our input is going to be 10 plus 1. 2 times 10 gives us 20 plus 1. The 10th figure will have 21 line segments. This can be a very time-consuming task, but if you start off by writing like we did, okay, I used plus 2, it didn't work. I used times 3, it didn't work. Always start from the same spot and then move forward. If you try and jump around and guess, it'll take you even longer and you can actually miss what the function actually is. Okay, so let's try this again. Function b. Okay, if I look at this, what I'm doing is I have a square, and I'm counting up the red sides in this case. So I have 4 plus 1 is 5. On this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I added 4. Now on this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it looks like what I'm doing is I'm adding 4 red lines to each figure. So this next figure should have 17 red lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Perfect, that fits our pattern. And the next one then should have 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Perfect. So we said that our pattern was plus 4, and that was how we were able to get the next two figures. So now we are going to figure out what the function rule is. I know that to go from 1 to 5, I either need to add, or I need to multiply, or I need to do both. So first I try plus 4. It works for 1 to 5, but if I put in 2 as my input and add 4, it does not give me 9 as an output. So plus 4 does not work. Next I can try times 5. It works for the input of 1 and the output of 5, but it does not work for the input of 2 and the output of 9. So this will not work. So now we're going to try putting the operations together. So the first one we're going to try is times 2, because remember we said times 1 is going to be the exact same thing as just adding 4, so we always start with times 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and we need to add 3 in order to get to 5. So you'll notice we're using this first input and output to create a function, and then we see if it continues to work with the rest of these. So if I put in 2 and I multiply 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 gives me 7. So the function times 2 plus 3 will not work. So now I try times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and I need to add 2 to get me to 5. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 does not give me 9. So we try again, times 4. Times 4, and in this case we would add 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 does give me 9. So far, so good. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 gives me 13. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 gives me 17. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 gives me 21. So we have found a function rule that is y, our output, is equal to 4 times our input plus 1. Now I can use this to find my 10th figure. How many red lines will my 10th figure have? So I put in y equals 4 times 10 plus 1. This gives me 40 plus 1. My 10th figure should give me 41 red lines. Okay, and then you have function C that I would like you to do on your own. What I want you to do is I want you to fill out the table, okay? And all I want you to fill out is the function rule. So this would be number 1 is the function rule, and it needs to be in the form of y equals, x times something plus something, whatever the function is, but you need to use y and x as your variables. And then what is your 10th term? Can be number 2. So this one you are trying on your own. Remember, go back into the video and re-watch A and B if you're still struggling. At least try this, and if you don't come up with the correct answer, that's okay, but you still need to try. All right, and the last thing that I'm going to show you is if they give us a function, how can we create a table for it? So when we're doing this, we can choose our own inputs and our own outputs. In this case, you can start with any numbers you want. I like to make it easy on myself and start with 0 and make my way up. Sometimes it might tell you create and fill in a table for the following function starting with -2. Therefore, you'd have to start with -2, go to -1, 0, so on and so forth. In this case, we can choose our own numbers. So I'm going to choose 0 as my first input. And then I put in 0 wherever I see x. So it's 2 times the quantity 0 minus 3 plus 5. 2 times -3 plus 5. So 2 times -3 gives me -6 plus 5. -6 plus 5 would give me -1. So if I put in a 0, I get -1 as an output. If I put in 1, I do 2 times the quantity 1 minus 3 plus 5. I have to do 1 minus 3 first, which gives me -2. 2 times -2 gives me -4 plus 5. So if -4 plus 5, that should give me 1. What I would like you to do is I would like you to solve for numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that will be your number 3. All you have to do is give me the outputs, so you can put 2 and then you can put a little arrow or ... and then tell me what your y is. You can even do x equals 2, y equals, and then fill in the blanks. Make sure that if you have any questions that you write them down or you post them on Edmodo so we can go over them in class tomorrow.